The land of Omola stretched wide under the warm arms of the African sun. Green hills rolled like gentle waves, dotted with cassava and yam fields, palm trees, and the soft whisper of corn dancing in the wind. At the heart of this land lived Okoro, a man whose name carried weight. People respected him not for his riches alone, but for his fairness, his wisdom, and the love he showed to the village. He was the kind of man who never passed a hungry mouth without feeding it. His voice calmed quarrels, and his hands built both homes and peace. Okoro had two sons, Emeka and Chibik. Emeka, the elder, was calm like the river at dawn. He watched, listened, and worked hard beside his father. From a young age, he rose with the sun, tilled the soil, learned the sacred ways of the land and the people. Chibik, on the other hand, was fire, restless, sharp-tongued, always wanting more. While Emeka walked behind Okoro, learning the quiet ways of leadership, Chibik hung around with traders, speaking of faraway cities and dreams of power. Still, Okoro loved both boys. He believed that love could change even the hardest heart. But not even he could see the shadow growing in Chibik's heart. As years passed, Emeka married Amara, a woman as graceful as the morning dew. They had two children, a bright girl named Adaora and a thoughtful boy called Ifeanyi. Life in their compound was full of song, laughter, and hard work. Even as Okoro grew old and his back bent with age, he smiled often, knowing his legacy would be safe. But peace does not last forever. One harmattan season, a strange cough took Okoro. It started as a whisper but soon rattled his bones like dry leaves in the wind. He lay on his mat, weak, his once booming voice now a faint breath. Emeka stayed by his side day and night, feeding him herbs, washing his feet, praying to the ancestors. Chibik came too, but not with love in his heart. His eyes saw not a dying father, but an opening. A way. When Okoro finally joined the ancestors, the whole village mourned. Drums sounded low, women wept, and libations were poured. Emeka, though broken with grief, stood as the new head of the family. The people accepted it easily. After all, he had earned their respect. But Chibik. He smiled only when no one was watching. Late one night, in the moon's cold eye, Chibik set his plan in motion. He invited Emeka to drink palm wine, pretending to share grief. But the drink was laced. As Emeka staggered, confused, Chibik followed. The next morning, Emeka's body was found at the edge of a ravine. The story told was simple: the grieving son, drunk, had lost his step. The people believed it, most of them. After all, it was Chibik who cried the loudest, who tore his clothes and cursed the gods. With Emeka gone, Chibik moved fast. He took the lands, the cattle, the family house. He declared himself the heir, saying Emeka had died childless, and that Amara was only a temporary wife. When she protested, he had her beaten. He drove her and the children out of the compound with nothing but a calabash and torn wrapper. Amara fled to her sister Neka in the next village, hiding her tears in her wrapper so her children wouldn't see. But children are not blind. Adaora clenched her tiny fist, and Ifeanyi held his mother's hand tighter than ever. That night, under a cold sky and the rattling of crickets, Amara told them the truth. Your father, she said, voice shaking but strong, was a man of honor. And one day, my children, the world will know the truth. But until then, you must learn. Learn well. Watch, listen, and never forget what was taken from you. And so the children grew in exile. While Chibik lived fat in stolen riches, Adaora and Ifeanyi fetched water from distant streams, worked other people's farms, and studied by firelight. Amara taught them the old songs, the land customs, the truth of their family. And when Aunt Neka brought the old historian, Is, something changed. Is was a bent man with silver hair and a mind as sharp as a blade. He once worked with Okoro, helping him keep records and land deeds. He had suspected Chibik's treachery but had been too old, too afraid, to speak up back then. But when he saw Adaora's determined face and Ifeanyi's eyes so like Emeka's, he found his courage. He gave them documents, sealed land rights, birth proofs, even a letter Okoro had written naming Emeka as his heir. And more than that, he gave them names. Names of men who saw Chibik that night. Names of those he bribed. names of those who could no longer sleep with guilt. It took years. Adaora became a young woman, tall and bold like her mother. Ifeanyi, thoughtful and deliberate, knew the laws of the land better than the council. Together, they built their case like a house, brick by brick, truth by truth. Then the day came. At the New Yam festival, when the whole village gathered to bless the harvest, Adaora and Ifeanyi returned. Not as beggars, but as lions. They wore white, the color of purity and truth. Behind them walked Emeka, and elders who now had the courage to speak. Adaora stood before the chief and the council, her voice clear and ringing through the crowd. She spoke of the night her father died, of the lies, the exile, and the silence that followed. She named names. She laid the scrolls of truth at the chief's feet. Chibik tried to laugh. Lies. This girl is bitter. A nobody. But the chief frowned. One by one, the villagers stepped forward. A goat herder who had seen Chibik's footprints. A widow who remembered hearing a scream. A cousin who had been offered gold to keep quiet. Each voice added weight, until Chibik's defenses cracked like dry mud. The chief rose slowly, holding the deeds high. By the gods and the laws of our fathers, he said, this land does not belong to Chibik. He has betrayed blood and truth. He is no longer welcome among us. There was silence. Then singing. The village women lifted their voices, ululating in joy and sorrow. Adaora wept. Ifeanyi closed his eyes. Chibik, once proud and feared, was now a shadow, driven out with nothing but shame. Adaora and Ifeanyi returned to their father's land, not with vengeance, but with purpose. They rebuilt the broken house. They opened a school, planted trees, and created wells for those who had once turned their backs. They did not hold grudges. They believed, like their father, that legacy was not about land alone, but about love, justice, and doing what is right, even when it is hard. And so, the village healed.